Night Live, and I'm Harvey the Golden Desert Retriever, the nicest dog in the whole wide world, who's currently looking up because that's just kind of dumb dog he is.
Eric, you got hair.
The Golden Desert Retriever.
Yep, the nicest dog. Harvey, you look.
I see the family resemblance.
Yes, well, all he does is look up. So, that's what we get tonight. You get the underside of a Golden Desert Retriever. Oh, no, he wants to end my live video. Oops. Oh, well.
You're going to have a hard time beating last week, brother.
I know. I tried. Come
that
here, big
was
dog.
really good.
Show the people who you are. Okay, or not. No, okay. You just want pets? Alrighty. Anyways, I've got a Golden Desert Retriever here at my side, and I've got lots of pets to give him. Obviously, by the way, the table's moving. Anyway, that did not go near as entertaining as I was expecting it to be, but that's okay.
That's comedy. You swing and you miss sometimes.
Yep, It's bound to happen. Anyways, so as you can see right below me, we've got Aaron Marion, who's the new director of training, the new training guy, the man, the myth, the legend, Aaron Marion. Yes, now I have to introduce you that way every time.
Yeah, you nailed that one. There's no going back from there.
Yep,
In the great state of Texas.
In the great state of Texas.
The best country in the country.
There you go.
Of all the states out there, they're like the only one who's like, ready. You want us to see? Done. Let's do it.
We'll do it.
I love it. They are awesome, man.
So, anyways, let's zip it down. Other corner. There we go. Kitty corner from me. Marvin, poke, poke, poke. What have we got coming up?
Wow. A lot of our focus right now is with Aaron on the training, and Aaron's going to be talking a lot tonight about that. I've got a couple other things brewing, but been working on them today, but I'm not letting it out of the bag until I know for sure. But
fair enough.
But we are pushing forward. We are getting shops that are finally that we're finding us as well on the value of technicians, which we're happy to see. So we're getting a lot of there. We have techs now looking. We got about 6 shops looking for B techs across the country, and a couple of them, one in Vegas, is looking for B tech and an A tech. And when we talk about those, we're talking about getting paid decent, guys. It's not, what some of you are doing and getting your $18, $20 an hour bull crap. I mean, these are shops that are, guess what, air conditioned for the most part. Taking care of their teams, giving them benefits. Aaron and I had a great time speaking back and forth this weekend to Devin. I guess you had talked to him, Aaron.
Yep.
A great tech who Euro stuff, looking to make some changes. And again, guys, if there's anything I can say, get a hold of us, sign up, let us help build your self-esteem, because the biggest thing we see, and Aaron nailed it, is that he saw it, is that you have this knowledge, but you feel you don't because you've been beaten down so many times. That's not the case anymore, guys. It is time to move forward and make some money, take care of yourself and that family.
Yep. I've said it a million times. There's no reason a qualified tech in this industry can't have 6-figure income, 40 hours of paid training, benefits, and a couple of weeks paid time off. There's no reason for that.
There's not.
If you've got the skills, you should be there. And if you don't have the skills, we'll get you the skills. That's not the hard part, really.
I love that sound. And that's all I got.
Fantastic. So, I'm just going to add on to that because I'm your resident mindset guy. You come talk with us, you're going to get a healthy dose of getting your mindset in the right place. Where do you want to be? What are your goals? Because if you don't know any of that, what are you doing?
Yep.
You're adrift. And if you're adrift, you're going with the currents of life. And frankly, if anybody's looked at the way the world's going, you don't want to be adrift in this.
No. And the same thing applies to these guys who are looking at shops.
Oh boy, yeah.
You need to talk to your potential employee, and if they don't have a plan, they don't have a goal, they don't have any growth projected for the next 5 to 7 years, you might want to look around, guys, because if they're not going to grow, the chances that you're going to grow are going to be on your own, it's much harder to do on your own than it is on a team where everybody is trying to grow.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what we've got to realize in this industry is it is a team. It's not owners versus techs.
Yep.
It's not all about the tech. It's not all about the owner. Just today, I was conversing with a gentleman talking about how his company was so great, gave their lead tech a 3% raise and everybody else a 1.5% or 1% raise. Guys, that's not a good shop. Come on, your real inflation rate right now is well over 20%.
Yeah, it is.
Don't believe what the government tells you.
Uh-uh.
If you go buy that milk, that carton of eggs, that loaf of bread, you're not paying 8% inflation. You are paying close to 30%.
Yeah.
So,
and tools are included in that too.
Face.
Oh yeah, tools. And you know the manufacturers, Snap-on, Matco, they go up every year, whether you like it or not. They don't broadcast it to you; they just go up. And these owners that are saying they can't raise their rates because they're customers, well, learn how to. You're doing things wrong. I have no problem going out and charging as a mobile guy $130 to $150. Come on, guys. What is it? Does your place look like?
I left the dealership last year. We were at $249.
Yeah. See.
Oh,
Yeah.
And more work than we could keep up with.
Yeah.
Now, as a matter of fact, just as a teaser for upcoming, we've got one on the art of selling with the guy down there in whatever corner he's in that's opposite Aaron that I can't seem to point. That one.
It really is. You know, you can let your customer run your business or you run the business. And I know there's guys out there, like you said, Aaron, there's guys even in our small town of less than 200,000 in the county that are charging $150, $175, and they're getting it all day long. And if the customer doesn't want to pay, that's fine. Then go take it to George, because you know what? All the good guys are booked. This guy's booked for how many weeks, Dave? 6?
Oh, he's out 2 months.
Absolutely.
And you know, every shop, even the bad shops here, are 2 weeks to 3 weeks before you can get in for an oil change.
Yeah.
I had a European shop call me today. European specialist. They don't do domestic or Asian. Only high-end European. And in rural, I wouldn't say rural, in Joplin, Missouri, which if you don't know your geography, don't worry. But a town of less than 1 million. And he was looking for some techs, and he's got 100 cars. 100 cars waiting to be repaired. I can't take an appointment for a month and a half.
Yeah. If you're an owner and you don't know how to raise the rates, and sign up for our owner program, we'll help you. I mean,
air conditioned shop, plenty of lifts, all the work you can handle. They're out there. They're great. There's great
they
shops
are.
out there.
They are. It's time to either step up or go away. It's shops or techs. I mean, really, that you can't, like Dave said, and I posted that today when I did the math on that. Guys, it's gone up. It's crazy.
So for the geography lesson, Joplin, Missouri is in the southwest corner. Not exactly a huge town. Springfield is your closest big one. And they're, let's face it, that's still not exactly huge.
No.
Not a big place.
No. So if they can do that in Little Joplin.
Yeah.
They're working on Lamborghinis and Porsches.
I didn't know they had Lambos and Porsches in Missouri.
I think only one guy has any.
Just on the shop backed up thing. I mean, my dad's got a 2000 Cadillac DeVille. Got some air conditioning difficulties, stuff that I can't handle. Friend of mine's shop that's got the car. We're coming up on 2 weeks, and he says, hey, I can't get this in right away because I have so much backlog. And we're like, hey, we get it. We don't have to have the car right now, so it's not an issue. But holy cow, 2 weeks.
Yeah, if you're not backed up, you're not doing something right. It's either your marketing, which that guy up in the you're right, that does mess things up.
It's hard.
It's backwards. Get with him and let him help, and get with this guy up above here who helps you with business plans. Everybody poo-poos a business plan, but if you don't have a business plan and you don't know where you're going and you haven't done one for years, it's time to rewrite and decide where you want to be the next 5 years. Because if you don't, you're not going to be around. I guarantee you you're not, because you're going to lose your techs. The techs are leaving in droves. We're seeing it. We're trying to save as many as we can, but they're sick of it.
Yeah. And justifiably so. Some guys have been just beat to death by this industry. And, I know a lot of guys who've had the carrot right in front of them for so long, and they've just chased it and chased it and chased it. And too many policy changes or shop changes or technology changes kept them from ever really getting where they wanted. And finally, they just say enough is enough. And I don't blame them at all.
Yeah, I don't either. A lot of them going to the government. The guy we talked to this week, it's kind of a fleet deal. Man, you can't blame them.
No.
You can't blame them. They got to get paid. They got to live. You can't buy those tools and live at some of the rates they're getting paid.
Oh, man.
It's unfair. And this stuff, this is the one that gets me. It's tough to be an owner. Well, you know what? 90% of you guys were techs at one time, became owners. So what are you telling me? I mean, really, guys, to me, that's the biggest bunch of bullshit I've ever heard, because you were a tech and it was okay for you to be a tech to go to an owner, but it's not okay for any other tech to be an owner. Yeah, wrong.
They don't want competition. They're afraid of it.
Well, they are, because, yeah, they are. And they should be. They should be. I guarantee you, any four of us showed up in any town, we could rule the roost. It doesn't take long. I've done it twice. 3 times, actually.
It's only hard if you don't have a plan.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. If you only know how to fix cars and that's all you think it takes, there's a little more to it than that.
Yeah.
But it's
But if
nothing
you're
that you
prepared to
can't handle.
continue your education and learn the business side of the thing, the marketing side, and work with a team that can help you, yeah, you'd be fine. You'd succeed.
Well, and the thing about this, I started my first shop was like, oh my gosh, it was, I don't know if I even want to do the math, 35, 40 years ago. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have programs like we did. We didn't have apps. You went out and got your nose blooded, and I made a ton of money back then already too. I learned. You learned, you know how to do it. You get you a good accountant. You get you somebody good with advertisement. You figure it out. Today, it's so much easier. There's so much more help than we had back then. And some of the old guys will attest to that. Today, it's tons easier. And you can whine about you don't make money and all that. Well, then you must not be doing right on your parts margins, which I can show you how to make a ton of money. It's just a game. They just don't want anybody else to survive and make money.
Yeah, they
And
don't want
now-
to get techs either.
That's right.
Yeah.
So now let's get to the meat of the action here. 12 minutes into this, as if we weren't already into the meat and potatoes of it. What are some of the things that you can do to improve your skill sets to make you more valuable to your employer, make your shop more valuable if you're an owner? These are the kinds of guys and people and skills that you want on your team, which is why we've got Aaron down there. Aaron.
Exactly.
So what are we talking about tonight? I know we've got something good.
So the biggest thing, and it really is my passion. It's one of those things that when you accept that you need to get better, that's when you'll get better. You won't get better if you don't understand that. And when you recognize that in somebody and you see that hunger to learn, it's incredibly motivating for somebody who, like me, who just is passionate about training. But training is the game. Our industry, I mean, Marvin, when's the first time you pulled a wrench? What year was that?
1969.
All right, so 1969. That was pre-HEI, right? You had points, right? Everything was carbureted. And when's the last time you saw anybody do anything that didn't have coil on plug even? When's the last time?
Keep in mind, he works at a racetrack. He sees it all the time.
Okay, but in a traditional repair garage, I mean, it's probably been 20 years, right? We've been coil on plug for a long time.
A long time.
Yeah.
I mean, HEI's come and gone. We've been coil on plug, and technology's not going to change. And if you never learned anything about fixing cars after 1969, you're not going to be making any money in 2022 and 2023, and definitely not 2024. And so it's something that we're of course, Mechanic Alliance, we care about techs, mechanics, whatever you want to call yourself, we care. And we want to help everybody succeed, and we want to provide an avenue for you to get trained, whether you're paying for it. I've paid for a bunch of training on my own, but I also have an owner who pays for 40 hours a year. It's part of my contract. I won't work for anybody that pays for less. And so the training aspect of what we do here is growing in leaps and bounds, and we're going to continue to push that because it's the only way for some of these guys to get any better. And how many guys have we talked to in the last couple of months that they just needed a little push? They just needed a little bit more knowledge and a little bit more confidence before they could put that notice in and go to that next shop. And it's intimidating. I came from a dealership and worked there for a long time, and I knew the brand well. And it was intimidating to go to a full all makes, all models shop because it's like, well, I know one really well. And I got myself a bunch of training. I spent a bunch of time online. I spent a bunch of time in webinars, went to a bunch of conferences to make myself comfortable with that. And it's been a tremendous success for me. And we want that for everybody. So, the training platform that we have now is great, and it's going to get better every month for the foreseeable future.
Hey, Aaron. So I'm a tech, and I've got my SE L1. So what Why should I worry about taking additional training from Mechanical Alliance?
Well, what year did you get your L1, David?
Yeah. Let's see. I got it 4 years ago.
So in the last 4 years, if you haven't paid attention, the ASC L4 just debuted, just came back out.
Yeah.
It didn't exist 4 years ago. There's training that didn't exist, right? ADOS calibrations, L4s, if you guys aren't in the knowledge, L4s for ADOS calibrations and repairs. And it won't be long until we see that as a mandatory requirement for service centers, repair facilities, body shops, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be, you're going to have an L4, right? So we know that in 4 years, technology has changed leaps and bounds. And if you don't stay current, you're going to get lost. You're going to be stuck in the past, and you're going to be stuck in the past, 20. I don't want to make the same amount of money I did in 2018. I want to make 2022 money, inflation corrected, right? So if your skills are pertinent to 4 years ago, your pay may reflect that if you're not willing to stay current.
So what are some of the ways that we can stay current?
So the best way that you can stay current is what most guys do, and they're working in shops and they're seeing cars every day, right? That's, traditionally a lot of guys didn't believe in training in the past because they train in the shop, they train on the fly. I've had shop owners tell me, like, the best training is in the shop, and they're not wrong. Hands-on training is always going to be a huge benefit to you, but the majority of our industry still works flat rate, right? So if you take whatever your flat rate is, doesn't matter. If you need to sacrifice 2, 3, call it 6 hours to learn a skill, well, that's 6 hours you didn't get paid, right? And how long till your manager, your service writer, your boss, the owner of the shop, whoever it is you work for, notices, like, hey, Aaron spent 6 hours. What was he doing over there? How does that make us any better, right? I don't have that kind of time in my day to day. I just don't. And I'm sure most of I still work in a shop 7 to 6, 5 days a week. I don't have 6 hours in a week to do that kind of thing, and most guys don't. And so what we have found over the years, and especially since all the virus stuff and everything, is that there's a great format built in where, just like we're talking now, we can attend training from the comfort of our homes, and we can facilitate guys learning without making a huge impact in their paycheck, their work life, and bring them quality training that will keep them relevant, that'll keep them going and take them to the next level. And our goal with Mechanical Alliance training has always been and always will be to meet techs where they are. We don't, if you've been to any training at all, you've been to the guy who hadn't worked on a car in 20 years, and he was reading off a PowerPoint slide, and he had it down so he knew that he could read that slide and make it last 2 hours so he could get his pay. And whether you learned anything or not was no impact to him. I've been to those classes. You guys probably have all too. And our goal with our training is to make sure that we meet the tech where they're at. If they're an A tech, if they're a B tech, if they're an L1 master, an L4 master, if they just started changing oil last week, we want to take you where you are and elevate you to a higher level, to push you further with whatever skills that you need or whatever skills that we can facilitate for you so that you can grow your career further than you are today. So we've got guys taking our classes who are at the top. They're making that great pay. They're fixing a lot of cars, and they want to keep getting better. And those are the guys who will keep getting better. And as we continue to build our platform, Mark, I can't tell you how many people have emailed us. They want to be on board. They want to be trainers. We've got experts in every field. We've got experts in every brand from all across the world, not even the country, the world, who want to get on board because they believe in what we do. And, I've done a lot of training. I've been a part of a lot of training. I was in the military and I did a ton of training there. And the one thing that I always learned that always benefited every training exercise that I ever approached was the guy doing the training is responsible for the material that he is teaching to the student, right? I've been to training classes where the guy acted like I was stupid because I didn't know what I came there to learn. And that sounds ridiculous, but it happens all the time. They sit down and they beat you up because you don't know what a voltage drop is. Well, who taught you? You're supposed to be teaching me, right? You're the guy. You're the trainer. You're supposed to be the guy. We won't do that. We don't do that to people. We want to take you wherever you are and make you better. And if we've got the knowledge, we've got the skills, we've got so many qualified. So we got guys so sharp in this organization that there's really no subject matter that we cannot find an expert on. I don't believe.
Well, that is very true. I mean, how many times we've seen something in the group pop up, and it is just weird. It's so obscure, it's not even funny, and yet our guys are finding answers.
We get them through it.
Sometimes effortlessly, like it's nothing. It's like, oh yeah, that's a this.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you guys rock.
Yeah, and we're growing our tech line database with really sharp guys, experts that people are calling in and they're getting the answers to the problems, right? And they are. And then coincidentally enough, those cats are the ones who are signing up for training because they think, oh, these people can really help. We're gonna come see what you guys are about and come try to learn from you guys. So
well, you said
class launches Thursday. I'm incredibly excited about it. I'm working hard to bring some quality material to guys.
Tell us about that.
Can't wait to get going. The idea with lab scopes, and if you're not familiar with their use, I know some techs have been techs for a really long time and never had to get into it. And they, for whatever reason, they didn't need to, didn't want to, didn't see the benefit at the time. But times are changing again. We were talking about it one time. It felt like scopes fell out of favor for a little while there in the mid to late 2000s. It kind of like guys kind of quit using them so mainstream, and they really came back. And before I left the dealership, if you're familiar with lockout tagout procedures for any kind of a safety thing, when we were working on EVs and hybrid cars, part of that procedure was lab scope measurements of circuits, and we had to save that file for our warranty documentation, because if we didn't do it safely and verify that with scope, they wouldn't pay the labor claim, they wouldn't pay the work. And so it becomes non-optional at a certain point. If the guy wants to get better, they have to get a hold of a scope and figure out how to use it if you really want to do this.
So,
well, and
tell us about. Go ahead, Murph.
What you were saying there too, and there was 2 points that you made I loved, and that is, okay, so you can learn on the firing line. That's very costly, very costly. I mean, if your shop's charging $150 an hour and it took you 6 hours, do the math. When you could have sat in a class for 6 hours and learned even more upon that.
Without the stress. I don't.
Yeah.
Some people learn well with the stress. Yeah. If I'm losing money, I'm not learning that well.
Too many owners I've seen for years, and actually it's just not even our industry. It's when 2008 came around, my training company, I ended up shutting it down and going to work for the big boys, because that's the first thing everybody pulls in any large corporation, which is the backbone of any company, and it's the stupidest thing you can do. And so you stick them out there on the firing line, that costs them. And that's not only the time. What about the issue if they ruin a part or something and replace something doesn't need to replace? It can be thousands of dollars. So, that part of it right there tells you that you're going to lose money, and you're not going to educate yourself. You're not going to grow. Your shop's going to get a bad name from it because, man, don't take your car to him. He charged me $2,500 and it still doesn't run right. No, training is bar number one.
And you talk about that, Marv. You talk about the individual that's learning on the firing line, but don't forget that individual that is learning on the firing line is also taking up time from the guy next to him and the guy next over to him to try and answer his questions. Yeah. So you're not just, as an owner, you're not just losing money from the individual being slow because he doesn't understand what he's doing at the moment, but he's taking it away from the guys next to you. So you're losing over and over.
You're right. Exponentiates itself. If your shop isn't over 100% efficient, you're doing something wrong. I guarantee you. Because when I listened to Terry Greenhut and Mitch Snyder back in those days, and I thought, okay, 50 to 55 was a national deal when I opened my drivability center. And I thought, okay, if I get 85, I'm going to feel pretty good. I fine-tuned it to 112, 117%. So it can be done. And that's diagnostics only. We haven't talked about brakes and everything else. So you have to be efficient. If you're not, and your guys are sitting there for 60 hours and billing 35, you got big problems.
You do. And the way that we've structured all this training going forward, and it's the pattern that we will continue on, is if you haven't been to any training at all, there's a lot of training that's very theory heavy. And there's a great benefit to that. There really is. If you really understand everything about a tool, be it a scope, be it a 5-gas, whatever you're training on, the theory is crucial. And we don't want to take away from anybody who's teaching that, because it's great. But what we want to provide is actionable we call them flat rate friendly. Even if you're not on flat rate, the more efficient you are, the better you are. But
Yeah.
we want tangible takeaways from our time, right?
Mhm.
When you finish our course on lab scopes, if you don't know anything about a scope, you're going to walk away and say, look, there's a list of things that I now can accomplish on my own with the tools that I have. And not just, I listened to a guy named Aaron talk about a picoscope for 6 hours, right? I mean, I'll talk all day about it if you want. I have the time. But you want to walk away with something that will make you money, but also grow your career. There's two things that we always look for, and we always tell our techs when we're talking to them. You need a growth plan, but you also need to make money, right? You can't sacrifice one for the other, and you shouldn't have to. And there's no reason for that to happen. It happens all the time, but there's no reason for that to happen. So when you take our courses, you're going to walk away with skills, hard skills, actual things that will increase your diagnostic efficiency, increase your speed, increase your value to your shop owner, and make your quality of life better, really. I mean, guys, we talked about one of my favorite tests is a relative compression test. And if you haven't understood the value of a relative compression test, come to my class. We'll get you. You'll understand. It'll open up a whole new, like, wow, I didn't even understand how quickly I can know if I have a bad cylinder. You can know real fast. And it doesn't need to take a big tool investment. I don't know if I've been into any shops in probably the last 5 or 6 years that didn't at least have a scan tool with a scope function somewhere. It may not be your tool, may not be the individual tech thing, may not be a nice one, but I mean, I know some guys with the tiny little pocket scope and a multimeter that can figure out most things. You don't have to have the $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, 16, 28 channel scope from whoever manufacturer. You just need to understand how the tools that you have access to work, and you'll be better.
Yeah, just kind of an example of what you're talking about. When I went through school, get my degree as an engineer, I had a professor that said, "Hey, you're going to come through, you're going to go your 5 years, you're going to get your degree, and you're going to think you know everything." He said, "I'm telling you right now, you don't know anything. You know terms and you know some theories." And I'll tell you what, my 30 years of engineering work has taught me more from a practical experience than anything that I learned in university.
Yep.
And so that's exactly what you're talking about. You can go and get your certificates. You can sit there and listen to the lectures, and you can take the test, but you don't know anything until you put your hands on the equipment, start using it. And that's the value that Aaron brings with the courses that we're developing here.
And the next phase, of course, once we get the whole world using scopes, it's one of those things that's compounding too, because if you have a great fundamental electrical baseline, not everybody does, right? It doesn't. But the thing that I've found over the years in helping guys learn how to use a scope and learning myself over the years is that it actually increases your real fundamental understanding. We can talk about voltage, we can talk about amperage, we can talk about current, we can understand the theory. But when you're watching it and you're seeing the results of a failed component, when you're seeing how these things change, your fundamental understanding of those things that maybe you sat through 8, 9, 10, 40 hours of training on, and it never quite stuck. When you actually are in there doing it, those core things that you probably have learned at some point will start to stick even better. For years they always said, well, the lab scope, that's for the master tech, right? That's for the guy down there that's smart and in the corner, and he's the only guy that does that. It's just not true. There's no reason that every tech who's trying to figure out any electrical circuit can't grab a scope and figure it out faster. I'm probably as guilty as anybody of getting one out when I don't need it, but for years, I remember the first shop I worked at had a Modus when the Modus first came out. Do you remember the 4-channel snap-on Modus? It was one of the first really portable, really easy to use 4-channel scopes. And it was like, oh, that's for the foreman, like that guy down there. He's the only guy who knows what to do with that. And we believed that. I don't know why we believe that, but we did. And it's just not true. And so I want to encourage every tech in every level. This isn't a master level course. This isn't an L1 level course. But we've got some L1s in this class. So I want to make sure that every tech from every background understands the value and what they can gain from this. There's true 20, 30 year senior L1 techs that are taking this course. And there's guys who have never used a scope at all. that are going to take this course. And so we want everybody to get tangible takeaways, and that's why we're doing our absolute best to meet everybody exactly where they are.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, I'm waving my hand. Yeah, that's me. I'm the guy that's never touched a scope before.
Yeah, and you're going to get the timing so nailed on your El Camino. Man, you're going to time it right. You're going to be in great shape. You're going to know exactly the duration of your spark. You're going to know if you're lean or rich, and that's just secondary ignition. That's just one thing.
That's just one thing. And heck, I'm even looking at alternator noise and all that good stuff. I know I've got something in there that digital ignitions don't like, which is why I'm using an analog 6AL for any hot rodders out there. It fires off of kind of the high. It's not looking for the perfect number. But, I'm looking forward to being able to troubleshoot this stuff and say, yeah, I can make the car better. And that's just my own personal race stuff. Anything else I work on is going to get the same kind of treatment of, hey, we can work this. We can make it better.
Well, the other benefit to a tech who can use any tool that you have, really any tool, your multimeter, whatever. But most of the scopes that we utilize in auto repair nowadays have some form of save feature. And that benefits you in more than one way. For one, if you have a good signal, it's good, the part's fine, the test component, you save that for later, right? I have scores of known goods, right? And you save that for later down the road when you may need one. But also, if you have a bad component and you need, for any reason, and the reasons are growing every day, but for any reason you need to document that, there's your proof, right? Mm-hmm. You can, most of the software has a built-in either save to PDF or screenshot or screen share, or a way for you to take the results of the test that you have and make them shareable via digital, print them out, whatever it may be, however your shop operates. But insurance companies, warranty companies, fleet companies, if you're not working on any of those at all, you're lucky. But most of us out here are dealing with warranty companies, we're dealing with fleet companies, sometimes you just deal with customers who really want to know down into the beans what's going on with their car. And you can say, look, here's this waveform pattern and you're out of time. The crank line should be here and the cam line should be here, and it's not. You're 3 tooth out of time. And I didn't have to tear your engine down to tell you that.
Yeah.
I took less than an hour to tell you that. So not only did I save you money and prove you the value of the test that I did, but I also built some trust because I can verify that I do indeed know what is wrong with your car. And you going forward say, man, the shop down the street, they wanted to charge 4 hours for teardown to check. Well, you don't have to do that all the time. And so as a tech, but also as an owner, if your guys can't do this stuff, get them in the class. You got to get them in the class. Last thing I want to do is tear down an engine to check, right?
Yeah. Well, and half of our enrollment on this first class that we filled up, half of it came from owners.
Yeah.
So like I said, we've got owners out there that are coming on board. One signed up for 3. And I know we both met him. What a killer shop. And I know they could teach their own team, but here's an owner who cares. Here's an owner who's going to make it happen for their guys. And that's what it's about. We got a couple of guys asking about an 8-trace Pico and some things like that. We had, let's see, Travis said, I like what he said. First off, I didn't get voltage drop until I actually got to use it in the field, and it was like an awakening.
Like an aha moment. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, Dave McCormick, he says, I'm stumped on Pico 7 software to use to Pico 6. So, and the Matt King says, how about the 8-channel Pico? So there's a couple questions for you.
So the 8-channel Pico is awesome. I have a couple of friends who use it. I use the 4. I use the Autel and I use the Snap-on. I've got a couple and the U-scope. So the 8-channel Pico is great. It's expensive. And it does not have as high of a voltage input as the 4-channel automotive. So if you look on Pico's website, they make dozens of oscilloscopes for dozens of use, engineering use, audio use, test labs, right? But the 4425 and the 4225 are automotive specific, right? And they have a higher voltage input allowable than the 8-channel. The 8-channel works and it has automotive software, but if you're doing a lot of ignition stuff or any HV stuff, you're going to end up stacking a bunch of attenuators on there, which is okay. It works. There's no reason that you can't use that tool. But that's something to think about as far as cost. If you're going to get into wanting an 8-channel scope, you may need 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 attenuators, which adds to the cost. And you have to be mindful of that because if you don't hook one up and you zap the scope, well, pretty pretty expensive. I had to send mine out Tyler and get it rebuilt one time because I wasn't paying attention. So something to think about for the 8-channel. Pico 7 is still so. If I was giving anybody advice, I have 6 and I have 7 on my laptop. 7's cool. It really works well. It's neat. But for me, I still occasionally have a couple of glitches that I'll switch back to 6 just to know for sure is that a glitch or is that a signal glitch? Is that a software thing? 7, it's great. And when they finally fine tune it, if you guys remember when 6 came out, we went through the same thing. It'll take a little longer, and we'll get into 7 will be fine tuned. But I would recommend keeping a copy of 6 on your laptop just for those odd times when you need to use it.
Absolutely. Let's see here. I've got Ray Lee. Ray, this one's pointed at you. Just because it's done making power at 6, and just because I could spin it to 68 doesn't mean there's any power up there. It's done at 6. I don't have enough cam. I don't have enough compression.
These Rays.
It's 9/8-to-1 compression. It's a pretty mild street-friendly cam. It's pump gas. It's not going to 68 without, okay, I've banged my 7,000 RPM chip. Don't get me wrong. But that was when I blew the rear end to pieces.
Dave remembers that probably.
Twice.
So Matt King said, I've heard the 8-channel would be better suited for heavy equipment where multiple things need to be monitored at the same time. Now, I don't know about you, Aaron. I don't know that I've ever really needed to use more than a 4. But, I mean, I had Simutech, which did it all, but it was more than that. It was 16 or whatever it had. But do you really need to get up into that cost-wise? What percentage would you use that?
I think I can count on one hand the times I've thought to have more than 4.
Yeah.
And I have 2 4s, so I'm not going to buy an 8 because I actually have 3 4s. So I'm not going to buy an 8 because I have 12 channels. Should I need them?
Don't overthink it.
Everybody's got a budget, and I want the best and the greatest, the coolest tools. I love tools. I want to have them all. But would I buy an 8-channel Pico for the added cost over a 4? If you think you're going to be scoping 8 channels a lot, yeah, look at the Pico. The ATS, the ATS makes an 8-channel that's awesome, and it does not have the voltage input restrictions that the Pico does, but the sample rate isn't quite as good. So
you give
contextually,
up on that.
You'll have to really think hard about what you're getting into. Very rarely do I use all 4 at a time. Most of the time I'm 2, 3. If I'm not doing it, checking timing on something, very, very seldom am I getting into all 4. But when I do, I'm really glad I have them. So,
yeah.
But as an alternative, if you want to do a 4-channel Pico, the 4-channel Autel, bang for the buck, you're not going to beat it for $400. Maybe grab one of those guys and throw it in the bottom of the box, and if you do need 8, you got 8. That's I don't use mine much other than mostly for training purposes now, but if I need it, it's there.
Yeah, I think because you do lose in what I've learned years ago. You're more current on that than I am, but you can lose some transfer rates and stuff like that too. So,
well, if you ever look at the specs on one, it'll give you sample rate, and that is a 1-channel. So sample rate goes down as you add channels.
It does.
So
it does.
Something to think about if you're doing FlexRay. I don't know if heavy equipment has gotten into FlexRay. Cars are using FlexRay now. You need the absolute fastest you can run to decode FlexRay. So if you haven't gotten into that, I'm not a heavy equipment guy. I'll never really touched one in the repair sense. But if you're getting into FlexRay and you're only going to be able to do maybe 2 channels at once of FlexRay anyway. So you like Marv said, you split channels and you get into running 8 at a time, you're going to lose a ton of bandwidth on your sample rate.
And I see a lot of guys talking about different scopes. This is what I like about Aaron is he's like I've been. It's what he's going to put in your mind up here. After that, guys, I've always said, if you're looking at a scope, and I know Pico doesn't do that, unfortunately, but I test drive them. That tool leader wants to sell me a scope, you leave that for a couple, 3 weeks. I'll tell you if I like it or not, because it's really about your comfort, your usability on it, because Aaron's would be different than mine. I might feel more comfortable with one scope that he's loving the other one. And you get guys like Daniel, David, and Greg who are more comfortable on a different scope. So, and expand on that, because you were talking about breaking these classes down later on as we get in depth to that too, right?
Yeah. So if we need to do this, and we're totally open, we're building training for you guys, for Mechanical Alliance. Like that's who it's for. It's not for me. And so I'd teach Pico all day because I like Pico. I'm good at Pico and I love it. The software's cool. The tool works good. Like I'm a fan, right? But this first class, we had a lot of demand for Snap-on, and so the first evening we're gonna be hard on the software because the software is easy to use, right? And another thing that's a big draw to our industry that we need to focus on is documentation and selling diagnostic time, right? And Snap-on does have some features that really make that work really well, right? You can review your waveforms. I email waveforms that I have personally captured to the students. They download the software, which is also free. It's probably the only free thing you're ever going to get from Snap-on. That's it. That's all you're going to get, guys.
They don't think they didn't add it in the price of the tool somewhere. They
built it in. I paid for it when I bought mine.
I guarantee you they did.
And so so you'll download these waveforms, and as we discuss the techniques, you'll have on your computer, you'll have a waveform that you can change the zoom, you can change the speed. We'll talk about the idiosyncrasies of that specific software, and if we need to transition for another course into an Autel, a Pico, ATS, whatever, we'll facilitate that as the need comes, because they are all different. When you're thinking about buying one, everybody has a budget, right? My first scope was $129. Yeah. And I learned a lot with that, and I did a lot with that. You can grab one for a fair amount, and you can do a ton of work with it. You can really expand on your skills without spending $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $8,000, right?
I'm looking at things just to see who I could reach out to touch, and frankly, there's a bit of sticker shock. I just went to the bottom of the page. ATS IEA Intelligent Engine Analyzer Elite 8 Kit, $8,200.
Great tools, guys. If you can afford it,
oh boy,
and do it, buy it. Or if you're a shop owner and you want your techs to have the absolute best, then yeah, sure, we can send you down that road.
I mean, if you're gonna have popcorn, have butter. There's no getting around it. Just
right. But we're here for butter. Techs and, we're not tool salesmen. I don't sell tools. And so what we want guys to understand is that you can use the tool you have access to, right? And if you don't have access to a lab scope at all, there's none in your shop. You don't work in a shop that has one. Nobody's got one. For a very reasonable amount of money, less than $500, you can be running a 4-channel scope that will get you miles ahead of. I don't want to say miles ahead of the competition, but the competition is the next guy that's going to get hired that knows how to use one, right? Does your boss want to hire somebody smarter than you or pay you more? You got to decide, right? You can be the guy getting a raise, or you can not get a raise and he'll hire somebody that has the skills. Mm-hmm. That's what it's going to come down to. And so we probably all have, $500 in the scheme of tools. If you've been around for more than a few minutes, that's not a huge impact, right? $500. No. When you've done this for 10, 15, 20 years, you've spent 10 or 20 times that. So 100 times that in most of our cases at this point. And so you can really get into it well with a 4-channel scope for $500. So, we can talk Pico, we can talk ATS, and we can talk top-down, Autel, Launch, whoever you have. But if you can use what you've got, that's what you need to focus on. And if your shop has one that you can use, by all means, learn every bit of that and that you can, so that you make an educated decision going forward.
Yeah, I have no idea how good it is, but I just found a Handtech 108C 8-channel automotive oscilloscope for $110.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't recommend that, but
probably not. But it's just like, holy crap! If it was,
they're okay. Like you can do a ton of stuff. When you were talking about automotive, you got to look at your voltage requirements.
Oh, absolutely.
And
it's just more of if that's the thing that introduces you to it and gets you hooked and gets you to the point where you're proficient in it, that's a pretty cheap entry point in the overall scheme of things.
The AES Wave U-scope, if you've ever perused to YouTube and search scopes, Paul Danner's going to probably come up, and he does a ton of stuff with them. If you don't know who Paul Danner is, find out. He's just one of the big assets to our industry. But he does a lot of work with one, and they're $129, and they have a ton of great built-in presets. They're pocket-sized. I mean, we're talking like they're the size of a credit card, a little thicker, and you can throw it in your shirt pocket and checking CAN bus signals, doing secondary ignition, doing in-cylinder. You can do it all. Not as user friendly as a top of the line Pico, of course, but you're not gonna be disappointed with how you spent that money. I've spent more than that. We've all probably spent more than that on a 3/8 ratchet.
Yeah.
Plus, I can't put the tablet in the front corner of my shirt pocket. It doesn't fit so well.
No.
So if there was a way, and I know Eric's working for the Alliance to maybe try to help techs get into some tools. We're working on that. We'd
working
love
on it.
to see some member discounts. Tool companies are very.
It's a lot harder than you would think. I have been ghosted more times than I can count by tool makers. I approach them and I actually start a conversation, and they're like, "Yeah, no, goodbye." That's it.
We're reaching out to some other avenues too. I mean, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. The problem is that we could have grown the Facebook group easily to 15, 20,000 people, which they'd go, oh, wow, they got a following. But we chose not to because of Eric's setup, which is fantastic. And that is we've gone for the elite. When I ask for what people are making wages, and I think we had a heated discussion with somebody one day, and I put it on there, and about almost bit me in the butt because a lot of the guys in our group are making better money than probably 80% of the techs out there, because we have an elite group that has come into this deal. And so with numbers and with the showing of the training and some of the contacts that we have out there, I've tried to reach out to a couple of tool dealers, and any of you that have got a tool dealer that we can talk to, I'd like to talk to them and get down with them, because we can help them in helping you.
Yeah. Every tool dealer out there is selling tools to people who don't know how to use them. Yeah. It happens every day.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's all these shops I've been into, they have a top of the line scan tool with a built-in scope, and the scope leads are still in the original plastic. They haven't been out the box. They're selling tools to people who don't know how to use them. So, shop owners, as much as we are here for techs, what we're going to do, the old saying, rising tides raise all ships, right? And it's a foundational principle for all of our businesses that we all work in. If your techs are making a great living, there's a really good chance that as a shop manager, as a service advisor, as an owner, you're making a good living, right?
Yeah.
So if we make every tech in the industry a little bit better, a little bit at a time, everybody's going to do a little bit better, and everybody's going to make a little bit more money. And so as we move forward, these shop owners are going to be sponsoring a whole class. They're going to have their whole shop in a class.
Yeah.
And the same with they're going to buy a tool and be like, why would I pay 10? I don't know if you know what a top of the line Snap-on scan tool costs, but like $10,000, $12,000, $13,000.
Yeah.
They're going to buy that, and they're going to think, why wouldn't we want to train our techs on this going forward? And so some of you guys are going to be just prime to get some great training that you don't have to pay for out of pocket. Your shop owners are going to start paying for it. So,
and
yeah, there's a lot to that. I split sheets with Snap-on years ago as one of their tech reps in Montana and Wyoming, and one of the reasons is they wanted me to go in at that time and sell the Sun 500, and just like the old big box that a lot of you boys know about, they sat in the corner collecting dust. And why? Because they weren't taught how to use it properly. So I'm with Snap-on at the time. We had an SST 1500. We had the Counselor 2, which some of the older boys will remember. And my deal was I sold them an SST 1500, so they got to use it. They got to understand it. Then they could go to the Counselor 2. And then 3 years later, Sun 500, if that was it. They did not like that. It was drop the $30,000 machine or you can leave. And I left. So it really is. It's a detriment to the shops. It's a detriment to the company to be selling equipment that nobody uses and collects dust. Like Aaron says, start out at that less expensive one. Start out to the point where you can use that one and work your way up as you feel comfortable. What a great way to do it, guys. Because again, the knowledge is here.
I mean, my first toolbox wasn't a Snap-on Master Series. I don't know about you guys. I didn't get a job changing oil and go buy a 70-inch monster toolbox, right? Most people don't.
No.
It's one of those things that when you talking about lab scope use, that guys get so twisted because they are. I mean, top of the line Pico's not they're $4,000 or $5,000. It's not cheap, and you don't have to have that. You don't have to have Snap-on wrenches to change oil. You really don't. You don't have to have them to do most jobs. You really don't. You can get through a lot. Yeah, they're great. They're nice. We like nice tools, but you can learn where you're at, and that's the whole point of our training. We're going to meet you where you're at. If you've got a $100 hand tech, we're going to help you use that tool to make money. And if you work at a shop that has a Pico, awesome. if the shop has a Pico and it's sitting in the corner collecting dust, wait until the guy who bought that, your shop owner, sees you using it and making him money with it.
Yeah.
Then you're his. I mean, everybody. I don't care what you say. You want your boss to like you.
Yeah.
And we've all worked for people who had made investments into tooling that nobody used. And if he thinks, man, I can't believe I paid $12,000 for that Snap-on thing, and you're the guy in the corner that knows how to use it, you're the guy, right? You're figuring it out for him. You've taken his investment and been a good steward of that and making him money, making you money. That's the guy that he's going to continue to invest in and pay for your training and pay for better and nicer tools. You know, use what you've got where you're at. We'll get you to the next level. And when you get to that top pay level, you can buy your own Pico. It ain't a big deal.
Well, and let's be honest, it's like it's some of us, and I've been there, we become tool whores. We gotta have it. We get excited. That's the newest, the greatest, the neatest. And I've helped a couple of guys actually have to get out of their business because of that and shut it down, because they had transferred from one job to go on their own. And this was a number of years ago, and they bought way too much and it buried them. You know, again, even in those instances, that's where we help you. Don't spend that you don't need to. Build that account, build that money. You have to look at it methodically, but there is a desire to always that new tool. I've been there. We all have that new tool. Gotta have it. You know, I sold for a year as a Snap-on tool dealer before I went as a tech rep for 3 years. And I got to tell you, I was number one in the branch of 64 tech, 64 tool dealers. In fact, there was Scotty Williams was a guy, and he was the head guy. And he says he was number one until I came and unseated him for that year. And he did a challenge for me on some tools to sell. And he says, you'll never sell these. And I sold them that week. But my biggest claim to fame was, you know, you'd be looking at something and I'd pick it up, Aaron, and I'd hand it to you. And I'd say, you know, why don't you try that for a week? I never took a tool back.
Well, if they know how to use that tool,
yeah.
Why not? Why would they take a tool that's profitable and make them money and give it back?
Yeah, you got to watch that emotion though, because the emotion is like buying a car. You know, I've talked to my kids many times, and some have made mistakes, and one didn't because I stepped her off that cliff. It was not the right year vehicle to buy. She bought one a couple of years later, had less problems with it. So you got to step past that emotion, because you don't need to have half the stuff that you have, and that's what drains your account too. So it's not only making more money, but it's how you can do a good job with spending less too.
Yeah, when I got to the point where I thought that I could justify a Pico scope, right? I don't remember when this was, but I had used all the tools that I had, and I used them all the time, and I was making good diagnosis with these tools, right? I'm utilizing them, and it was one of those things where you have a supportive fan base, or for me, I just have my wife, because that's my fan base. But my wife, I was watching YouTube videos on Picoscope again and again and again, and finally she said, "Look, I don't know why you haven't bought one of these. What are you doing? You're wasting your time. I'm sick of watching these videos. If you'll stop watching Picoscope videos, buy it." But I was doing the same thing where I was trying to man, do I need it? Is it worth it? What can I do with this that I can't do? And there was things that I wanted to be able to do that I wasn't able to do with the tools that I had. I hit that point, and it was a good buy for me, and I've been incredibly happy with it. But it was a smart decision. I had used one for a long time before I crossed over into that high end lab scope use. You don't have to get real crazy with it. So if anybody's out there thinking about pushing buy right now, do it, but think about it.
Yeah.
Think just a little bit first. Yeah. Oh, David's disappearing for a minute. That's okay, sir. Not appearing in this film. So it's Daniel James asked, which spurred the poll. Have fun with that, guys. How many of us sneak tools into our homes?
That's a funny one where the guy says, I've seen that meme. It's really funny. It's a turbocharger. And he says, well, honey, this is the alternator. We have to replace this.
This air filter. It needs this air filter.
Or when your wife says, no, this dress, I've had it for years. Just took the tag off.
Yeah. So it goes both ways.
I'm trying to figure out how to get an LSA blower on my Yukon. It needs this new air pump.
Yeah. Air pump. Yeah.
Yeah, you know those pipes on my Harley, they were rusted out. They didn't work anymore. I had
Oh, darn it.
to get them.
So, just for the three of us, because we can't see the poll that I put up, I said, does your significant other know how much you have in tools? Yes? No? What tools?
Yeah.
So what was the poll?
Well, another plug for the Mechanic Alliance too is if you have made substantial tool investments and you're not insured, you got to do it, guys. You got to do it.
Join the Alliance.
That's great.
Mechanicalliance.com or training.mechanicalliance.com. We'll get you squared up both ways. You can join. We'll get you put in everything where you need to be. We can get you hooked up with the right tool insurance to make sure you are covered.
Ask your shop when you're interviewing. That's an interview question, and I've been working on a list of top interview questions. We'll publish it soon. It's done-ish. I just need to finish the tweaks, but it's on the list, guys. What are you insured for my personal tools? And you have to word it like that, because they'll need, I have tool insurance. Well, they have their tools insured, their shop equipment insured, but is that rider going to cover the tools that you bought out of your own pocket? You need to know for sure. And we have insurance experts who can help you. Insurance paperwork, guys, if you've ever read it, it's not.
Yeah, great.
Doesn't make a lot of sense for me, but you need to know the value of what you have, and you need to know that it's going to be covered in the event you get a fire, a break-in, a tornado, natural disaster, whatever it may be. You don't want to be starting over 15, 20 years as a tech and have to replace $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 worth of tools.
And get the right insurance too, because, Greg had found out he's still fighting for his. We've had other guys say that they'd lost their tools, thought they had insurance. Let us help you with that. That's the whole thing, guys, is you don't need to go this alone.
But when you do make that insurance, your wife's going to have to know the total value. So you might want to have that conversation a couple of weeks in advance. If she's not tracking the total number, she's gonna.
The results are actually kind of fun. 27% of our guys say yes, their wife knows how much their tool habit cost.
It's good.
45% say no. 27% must have had a boating accident and the tools are in the bottom of the lake. What tools?
Oh.
So Travis has a question for Aaron. What is the lifespan of a Pico? Holy crap, Timber Charlie, you just moved it. Now I can't read that. Okay. So
the
lifespan, what's the lifespan out of the Pico? Either to where it is so far out of spec or it just dies.
I know guys that have been using the same one for 18 years. You're not going to wear it out. The technology does improve. The latest and greatest that they have has the smart leads. If you haven't seen that yet, the real perk to that is when you plug the lead in, the tool knows what lead you plugged in. It's pretty cool. And it also powers the amp clamps, so you don't have to have a bag of 9-volt batteries laying around. But honestly, it's basically indefinitely. Probably for the duration of your career. If you hit to the point where you've worn out a Pico and you need another, you've been doing it for longer than I have, brother. So, also Pico particularly, I had to send mine out one time. I think they're in Tyler, Texas. Actually, it's pretty close if I recall correctly. But they have a stateside repair facility, and the turnaround's pretty good. And so, if you do run into an issue where you fried it, poking around somewhere you shouldn't have, their support's great. And so, I would call it a lifetime investment. Realistically, there's guys who've been using the same one since they started distribution in the 90s. So,
to answer David McCormick, holy crap, you guys are commenting so quickly I can't read the comments. Are the classes webinars? Yes.
So the first lab scope launch on Thursday is via Zoom. We will limit participation. It's full, and we're already filling up the next one. So if you guys want to be a part, it will fill. We're going to keep running this class as many times as everybody wants to take. But if you're interested, the class starts Thursday and it's completely full, and we've already got a pretty good list for the next one. So get on that list. Get on that list quick if you want to get into the next one. But so via Zoom, and we will continue that format as long as we can. We offer in-person training. That's something you have to get in touch with myself or Marv directly if you want somebody to come to you and to do that. We can facilitate that for you. It's just that takes a little more back and forth.
The green stuff.
And it's quite a bit more expensive. Our classes are the lab scope, fundamental lab scope class is $150 for members. And if you've ever paid for training, that's a pretty tremendous value. It's for 6 hours of instruction. It's going to be hard to beat that.
And also keep in mind, if the live classes don't work, this is going to be available on the Training.Mechanic Alliance website. So where all of our other trainings are, the diagnostic strategies, you got service writers, the service writer training is there, the GDI class. Guys, all of our stuff is on the Training.MechanicAlliance.com. Let's see here. I know I've got a banner around here somewhere with that.
And,
Let's see.
And the beautiful thing, while he's looking for that banner, the beautiful thing is when you take the class, you will have the link for the class so you can go back to review it. That's part of what we do as well.
Right.
Yeah,
you don't have to pay it
the
a second time. It's yours for life when you've been an attendee to the Zoom meetings. You get that class indefinitely.
Yep. So, I mean, guys, if you're taking the class and, go over to the Training.MechanicAlliance.com, set up an account now. That'll make it a lot easier for me to get your information in there and get you loaded into that when I get that loaded.
Right.
So,
no cost to set up. You can get in logged in without having any out of pocket. But that way, when you're ready to go, it's so much easier, and you won't miss that slot to that class, because we limit participants by design. It's really difficult. If you ever attended any like traditional universities, I took a couple of classes before I realized it wasn't for me, and I had classes with 300 people. You're not going to learn like that, right? So we control the amount per class in order for you to get a better interaction. And so when you buy that, you'll be talking to me. We'll be talking. We'll be answering your questions. And if you forget the answer to the question, you're going to have it on a digital format forever. So
yeah. Kirk Holm, what if you don't Zoom? Well, it's going to be available on the website. You can catch it after the fact. It's not going to be live. So if you have any questions, you can email us and we'll get back to you. So it won't be quite as, immediate, get an answer to your question. But Kirk, it'll be available as soon as the classes get collected. The video editing guy here, I'll get those trimmed up nicely, get them uploaded in the website. So that way they're there and you guys can have access to them.
Right.
Promise.
So it'll be, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's downloadable, correct? So they can like save it.
Downloadable. Not entirely, but there's an app for that. We're working with a company called Attractwell, and they have an app that makes it super easy. Download the Attractwell app, and when you sign in the first time, it's just like you're signing into the members area of the website, and you can see everything that you've got on your phone. So it goes with you everywhere you are.
And Zoom is a free download.
Yeah.
If you've got a phone, you just download Zoom on your phone and
right.
It'll be in the class. So
you click the link and it opens for you. It's all good to go.
For a class like this, you'll be best suited to be able to run Scope software on a PC, but it's not an inclusive requirement. If you don't have access to a PC at the house, you can still get in there. You can still do the stuff. If you've got a smartphone or just a basic laptop is really all you need. If Zoom is free. So
yeah. We send you a link, you click the link, it's all browser based, it all works. And I realize that we have, some people in this world just do not want to be on camera. We get it.
Sure. Yeah.
We
don't require anybody to be visually on camera if that's not something you're comfortable with. We'd love to see everybody's beautiful faces and talk and interact, but if that's not something you're comfortable with, that's totally okay.
Daniel James asks, any in-cylinder testing?
So for the fundamental class, we won't get that far into in-cylinder testing. We're developing a more advanced course. If you're interested in in-cylinder, you've probably been messing around for a while. The further you go, the more time it takes to learn a specific specialized thing like that. In-cylinder waveform analysis that's a master class. It's deep. I think I've been to 40 hours of it, and I wouldn't tell you I'm incredible at it. And I think I've been to 40 practical hours of the subject. It's just so many variables. It's an incredible subject, but it's a niche class. If we can get enough steam for something like that, we'll put it together. But like that, and we're custom math channels and some of the really into the weeds stuff we won't cover in a fundamental testing class. But as we move forward, we will build basically any training that the market being you, the text, whatever you guys want, we'll put it out there. We put out a survey a couple of weeks ago asking what guys want to see, and advanced lab scope techniques was one of them. We just have to sort of decide the specifics of that, because advanced lab scope techniques, you could take 1,000 hours and still be learning every time. So we haven't gotten all the way into in-cylinder yet.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah,
We need to start a GoFundMe for Zach so he can
man.
Well, aren't we? And Aaron, you're giving a little bit of not homework, but homework where they get to go out and try some of these things, so when they come back.
So of course, it's not mandatory, right? You don't have to. If you can't get to one, don't have one. People. There may be some guys in the class that don't have a scope, but what we want for the format we're running at the moment, we'll have a class on Thursday. We won't have another class for 2 full weeks, so you have a week off, and then another class. And what I would like to see is you guys email me some of your waveforms, whatever tool you've got, we'll figure it out. There's a shared drive for the course. When you enroll in the course, you get access to the shared drive to download my waveforms, and you will. What I want is everybody to email me some of theirs, and if they understand it completely, cool, great. We'll just talk about it. If you don't understand it, I'll put it on the shared drive, and come class time, we'll talk about it. We'll go over it with you and help you get through what's going on specifically with what you're doing. It's the best alternative as opposed to myself being with you. To keep the cost affordable that's the easiest format. You go bring me a couple of waveforms. If you got it, you got it. And if you don't, then we'll get through it together and we'll put it on the shared drive. Everybody can check out each other's files. And in case you guys aren't tracking, most of the manufacturers for tools have a demo mode for their software. And so if you're thinking about buying a particular tool, I would encourage you to download whoever it may be. Pico does it, ATS does it, Altel does it. And you can use their software in demo mode, where if you have some files, I'll email you. You can play around with them. And if you get a feel for the software and how it interacts, because everybody has preferences about stuff like that. So, but yeah, so the homework is essentially have you grab some waveforms and have you get in there and do it and show us what you got, and we'll talk about it.
See here, where did it go? I saw it, can't find it now. Asking about, are you going to be doing any NVH stuff at some point?
Hopefully. I would love to do an NVH class if there's enough demand. NVH is sort of the actual culmination, in my opinion, of what you don't realize a scope can do for you. Once you start doing NVH, you realize, like, man, I can't believe I've been like using a pry bar and like beating around on a car trying to find a noise. My scope could have told me that and kept me clean. I'd love to do an NVH class if we get enough demand. We'll do that for sure.
All righty. Oh, by the way, here's my waveform. What do you think of that? It's the best I got. Just kidding.
It's leaning a little bit. We may have a ground problem.
Old Chevy.
It was moving too fast. I was trying to trace it. It wasn't working.
Kurt's asking, how do we get to the classes? We did post it there today, guys, and I will post it one last time before we leave. Get a hold of mray at mechanicalliance.com. We'll sign you up. Like I said, we already have 2 that have asked tonight, 10 to 12. And so everybody knows, and I love this when we brought Aaron on board because it's something I'd already done. He says, hey, can we give a class to somebody who's in need? Yes, we have. In every class we do. We've done it on the last ones, every class we've ever done. Actually, this next one coming up, we did 2 of them because we have Richard from Uganda, or I might have said that wrong. I apologize, Richard. But Aaron, we had picked one, and I just really love this guy's going to be up at midnight his time watching and learning this class. And it just gave me the warm fuzzies that we got to let him in. So we do that in our training in the past. That's what we did. We held all of our training at high school auto shops and Votech. Always invited the instructors and the students there because we believe in blending that. And so as we're moving along, if you guys see somebody that hey, he just can't afford it, his owner won't help, give us a list of that because we will do that. We totally believe in giving back in the industry and paying it forward. Always have.
Yep. Hey, Marv, quick question just to make sure that it's up there. The next dates for the training stuff, I know we've posted it 3 or 4 times in the chat here. That's up on the Mechanics Alliance group, isn't it?
It is. I'll probably, when we pull off video here, I'll move it up into the.
Yeah, we'll pin that to the top so
featured.
you guys.
I don't think I put it in the featured yet.
Yeah, we'll get it bumped up to the top where we can find it easily.
Yeah,
so that way it's clean and clear. You guys know when it's coming.
Yeah,
and we're also working on a better couple of calendars to make sure that we can lay this out better and say, hey guys, here's what we've got coming up.
Go to the site.
Go to the site, go check it out here. We'll put it in the group, make sure it's up there at the top where, you can see it easily. So
yeah, I'm going to put up a poll later, guys. And I'm working on a full package calendar essentially for everything we offer now. And then we've got I hate to spoil it, but we've got some great people kind of come on board. And if you have reached out to me or with interest in training, I am trying to catch up on emails. But man, we have so many people that are on board and want to be a part of what we're doing. So, and some talking about some sharp guys. Like
it was really, it's really, like I said, it's just like a dream come true to me. The caliber that we are finding that are
top notch,
that are wanting to be with us, and so it's absolutely, it's just breathtaking. I just pinned it to features, so you guys will have it there. But yeah, it's really great to see the caliber of people we have. We want to flood this country. We've got these regions. We've got these areas. You will have Train the Trainer from Aaron, the magnificent Aaron Marion, so that, the stuff that is right there. I can help you on building parts of it. We want you to, Aaron and I have talked about this. We want you to teach your passion. Teach to the stuff you want to teach.
Yeah. Yeah, the class that I'm most passionate about that I'm actively developing is going to be note-taking and documentation and selling your diag time. Like, it's something that without, at the risk of sounding kind of cocky, I know a ton of guys who are smarter than me, but I don't know anybody who's better at that than I am. I'm just good at it. I worked at a high-end dealership for a long time, and if we didn't prove our work, we didn't get paid, period. You had to do it. You had to get good at it, and when it's something that's so crucial to my job, I make sure that I get good at it. And so we're going to be teaching about, and it's something that guys sometimes, I wrote a blog about it too, guys. It's one of those things that's easy to neglect. And if you work at a great shop that sells your time, you may never have faced these challenges. But a lot of us out there, sometimes you get into a car, guys, you need 3 hours. You need 4 hours. You may need 5.
Yeah.
I've sold 7 of straight diag time before and gotten paid for it. If you work at a great spent 7, right? You can get into the weeds. And everybody that has ever worked in a shop has seen those guys who never tried to get good at diagnosis because it didn't pay well, right? They got 1 hour, they got half an hour, whatever it may be. And so that's my passion. And that class is coming soon. So if you work in a shop and you deal with warranty companies, you deal with insurance companies, you deal with service writers who question why you asked for the time, you deal with an owner who doesn't like to sell it to the customers, you deal with customers who want to know what you're going to do for their time, I will help you make sure that you're getting the message across. Because a lot of times guys know exactly what they're going to do in that time, but they're not good at putting it to paper. And I'm great at that. And so we're going to build a class that helps guys get paid for that valuable time. There's shops who still don't sell diag time, or they're out there and they're not selling diag time. I don't know why, but
they're scared of their customer.
They're scared of their customer, and they don't know how to present it in a professional manner in order to explain to their customer that, hey, this isn't just some guy plugging something in. This is a complex system, and we're testing this system to verify the integrity of what is working. And when you figure out how to explain that to the customer and speak to them in a professional manner, the lights go. You can see the light in their head go, oh man, this is something I'm going to have to pay for. Yeah, absolutely it is. This is a repair. This is a trade that you have to pay for.
Well, it's CV. It's communication and value.
Yeah.
You sell the communication, you do the communication, and you build the value. I can't tell you how many times, and I've done this before, I've told you guys out there, I'll see if I can find one here, and that is that every one of my customers gets the folder. When I used to throw all the stuff away from the All Data I printed or Identifix or the TSBs or whatever, they leave with this. Does it mean anything to them? No, but the value is there. It's the value. I left with something. He did something to my car. That's where you guys are missing it. You really are. You're just saying, hey, it's going to be $700 to check your car out. What are you doing?
Yeah, I had a guy the other day with a Chevy that had been timed incorrectly at another shop, and they had told him that they were going to charge him to tear it down in order to basically to verify that they had done their own work poorly. And that it happens, guys. We know there's bad shops out there, right? We know it doesn't come as a shocker to anybody, but via Picoscope and a known good, I was able to verify without tearing anything down. He paid for that time because I gave him a tangible result. I gave him proof, and I printed it and I put it in a PDF and attached it to his digital inspection form. And he was able to go to that customer and say, look, I had to pay out of my own pocket, and another guy told me that what you did is incorrect. And here's the proof. And they, without charging him, corrected the repair that they had performed incorrectly. And he got down the road. He had to pay for my time. I don't know if they reimbursed him for that time, but he paid his testing time, and it built a tremendous value with him, with me, with the shop, with everybody involved. And it was a simple matter of communicating him effectively what I had done and why I had done that without tearing down his engine, that he was able to then take back to a third party, right? We know we lose communication when we go person to person to person, but because it was documented well, it was written and typed and printed clearly, and he had PDFs to prove it, he was able to take that, even if he didn't know anything that he was talking about, he was able to take that to another shop and say, do you know what this means? This means that you did your job wrong and you need to correct this. And they did. They took care of it for him.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, guys, we are at the hour and 15-minute mark, but you guys are loving it. So thank you for watching. We appreciate you being here. So we're going to, let's see here. Oh, Greg says he keeps the paper mills in business. So congratulations, Marv. You're single-handedly deforesting rainforests. Just kidding.
That's fine.
Actually,
but the customer knows, so that's what matters.
It's for a worthy cause.
Somebody told me the other day that there's more trees on the earth now than there ever has been, actually, because of.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. I'm with you, Mark. Print it off. I'll still print wiring diagrams from time to time. I don't know.
Absolutely. Because you can't, you get screwed up and you get like on the wrong wire, and suddenly you're chasing the light blue wire instead of the pink wire. And you're like, where the heck did that pink wire go? Whereas if it's on paper, you can draw on it and say, I'm looking here, and you can follow it with your pen. No, believe me,
I can't tell you how many times when I opened my drivability shop here 25 years ago, a customer would come in and look at the back deck lid of their car, and I had like 8 or 10 pages taped together because back then I wanted to flow the wiring. And they don't. This is the biggest problem that I talk about all the time. They don't understand what we do, and that's why they don't want to pay. Right. Once you educate them, and I'll tell you, if I can pull this one thing off, it's going to help this industry as a whole, because it is about education to the consumer.
Yep.
And if you guys aren't doing it, somebody's going to do it. So we're going to try and help you with that, because they don't know the day in the life of a mechanic or technician. They don't. They just think, in fact, I challenge all of you on here today. You still have 13. We've lost 7 because of time. You take that scan tool or that lab scope up tomorrow to a customer that you're doing a job on, and you ask them what they think you paid for it, and you'll cry. You'll cry because they'll tell you $200-300 and you're into $13,000.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Greg KD's
$200 or $300 a month.
Yeah, they don't know. They don't know. That's the problem, guys. They don't know, and we're not teaching them and training them, and that's our fault as an industry.
But we can, and we the training's coming, guys. Stay tuned. You will get better at selling your work. Just stay tuned and sign up when it's ready. It'll fill.
More to come. So Greg asks you, Aaron, did you get that charging system test in the email form?
I did.
Great.
I got a bunch from Greg. He sent me some great waveforms today.
Fantastic. Awesome. So let's see if I can get Harvey the Golden Desert Retriever up here for a wave goodbye. Come on up, Harvey dog.
I wish I'd known we were bringing guests. I would have brought my golden doodle.
There you go. You got a golden doodle?
I do.
Harvey, over here.
Wave goodbye, Harvey.
Say goodbye, Harvey dog.
See you, bud.
Oh, such a big guy.
See you, bud.
We'll
Thanks,
see
guys.
you next time. Or if I can find my mouse.